Thank you everyone for joining. Very good to have you with us. This is our 4 monthly What's New in Simplifier and Forge webinar. So for you as a customer, we try to open up here about everything that we've done in the last 4 months, what we've released, what we're planning to release, and also give a forum for you to give any feedback that you may have, any feature requests. Of course, you can always reach out to us during the year, but this is just a centralized place where we try to bring everything together so you know you have everything, have an overview of everything that we did. As always, the recording and the slides will be shared afterwards, so you can share it with your colleagues or watch it back later. There's some links within the slides that you'll also be able to click them. And as I said, you can reach out to us always directly. My email address is there. Our support email address is there. And if you are on the Timor Enterprise Plan, the Jira Service Desk link is there, where you can always reach out, and we make sure that we keep track, that we solve your issues quickly. So the agenda for this webinar. We do a short introduction here, just upcoming events and some showcase projects. But then we have a lot to share, actually. We have work on Forge that Rob is going to display. We have a guest presentation from our long-term German colleague, Simone. And really happy to have her here. Then we'll dive into the marketplace for Fire, and I'll show that together with Paul. I'll show our new jurisdiction pages. So overview pages for every country in the Fire world. And then Rob is going to show some upcoming features where we try to do rendering of more resources and do that quickly with liquid templates. So, and then at the end we have a bit future outlook and a Q&A section. Again, just anytime you have a question during the meeting, you can raise your hand if you want to speak up. You can use the Q&A section in Zoom. You can use the chat, and we'll try to answer those. So we're with a few colleagues here, so we can do this simultaneously. Yeah, we're talking about the yellow products here. Firely is bigger than just our data modeling team. That's who you're interacting now with. So people behind Forge and Firely Terminal and Simplifier, really for the data modeling side of things. We also have a Fire server, and all of these tools are built on our open source .NET SDK. So the open source implementation of Fire within the .NET C# stack. We also give trainings, we do consultancy, we organize dev days in a few weeks. So that's all of it, but we're mainly going to focus here on the yellow parts. Well, to dive into some more introduction, the events, there's some events coming up. I'll be leaving myself on Thursday for the working group in Dallas. And that's happening next week. Over the weekend, there's the Connectathon, and after that, there is the full working group. If you're there, would love to meet up. So send me a message and talk about anything you want. And then only 3 weeks after, in Minneapolis, we have our Fire Dev Days. It's an in-person event, this time in the US. Simone is also going to be there, and I'll be presenting at both too. I think on the Tuesday of the working group, I have a presentation on implementation guide development. So send your colleagues there. And then we have colleagues who are at Health later in October, if you want to meet up there. Some showcase projects. We thought we'll do something from Italy and Canada this time. So we have a nice project from Healthy Reply, an Italian-based consulting company who develops for the Lombardy region this nice implementation guide. Really nicely styled too, nice simplifier implementation guide. So maybe a nice thing to take inspiration from if you haven't tuned your own template, implementation guide template yet. This is something to look at, and Simone is also gonna help you later with some nice templates on that. And then consultants in Canada, Thales Health Group. They are both working on their own products. So I have shared their own project here, where they built I think it's a data model to extract EMR data from the EMR. And they also work for Canada Help Infoway, so the big Canadian standards organization developing projects. So just wanted to put them in the spotlight here. Really cool stuff. And that's it for the introduction, I think. So then we'll dive into the real meat of the project. And we'll start with some introductions on Forge. So we have a new Forge release. I think it dropped on Monday. And Rob, I'll stop sharing here. So you can take over. But there's a lot of improvements in there, and we kind of focused on just helping you all over your workflow, making it a bit more seamless. And yeah, I hope that will be appreciated. Go ahead, Rob.
All right. So we made some improvements on workflow. The first one I want to show you is that we split the recent documents into recent files and recent projects, just to make the distinction better. And if you're working on one project and you have a lot of files open, then your recent projects would just get out of view. So we made that a little bit more convenient to split those two. We also created a little wizard for creating new projects, where you can see where your main folder is for all your Fire projects. So I can type in a new name here. Oh, Forge demo, for example. That will check if you have valid characters. So it's all valid. The next two items here are project settings. So the first one is whether or not to include subfolders, which is turned on by default, and the preferred file format for your project. And what's new is that the core package will be installed automatically for your new project. And that's it. Then you have your new project. If you want to change some of the settings, you can still disable subfolders or change JSON to XML, for example. It doesn't restrict you in using both formats. It just is the default format that is presented to you when you either open files or save files.
Yeah, I think this has been reported quite a bit. We used to be a bit of a goldfish when you preferred to XML or JSON. And then next time we would ask you again. Right. It should now actually remember or try to guess the format from your current files. Right.
Well, because it's new, it will guess the format based on the files that you have in your project. But after that, you can change it if it didn't do a correct guessing estimate for your format. I'll switch over to our ACME project. Now, this is the loading time that currently has been improved. The ACME project uses a very the US Core 6.1 dependency. That's a very large package. It used to take about 15 seconds to load into Forge. And as you can see, it now loads a lot quicker. The other thing that we did is that if you want to change to a different version, for example, to downgrade or upgrade, you can now do so by just going to the simplifier, search for your package, change to a different version, and click Add. The speed improvement for packages is done by caching information. So if you're using a new package that you haven't used before, Forge will first create that cache for you. But the next time you will load it. Okay, I change this back to version 6.1. it goes a lot quicker. There you go. I'll open our Acme base patient profile. What we did is have a JSON rendering of your profile available as well as XML. Shown in bold is the, let's say, the preferred file format for your project. So you know what's the default. But you can also change how these steps are shown. So for example, you can just show the format in which your file is. So this is an XML file. If you're not interested in JSON, but I like to have them both. You can even opt out for showing them at all.
Which is a bit quicker to load, right? So that's why you might want to do that if you don't care about the source.
Right. Those previews are created, let's say, in a background task, so you shouldn't notice it. But if you're very large projects and you're not interested, you can just switch it off. We changed the colors to match a little bit more on how XML and JSON are represented in Simplifier, so those colors should match up. It's just what am I going to say?
I think the links was another thing you want to say. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, there's a refresh of how this is rendered.
Yeah.
And one of the things we did is also underline any canonical URLs here, and you can actually click on them. So, for example, there's a reference here to a profile, and it will open the profile for you if it's in your project, or if you have a core profile, US core patients. It will open it from the package, but as a copy, as you would normally do. And if it's not known in your project, it will just try to open the URL in your browser. I think that's about it for Forge.
Nice, Rob. Thank you.
Any questions?
I didn't see anyone come in yet. So if you stop sharing, then I'll take it over. Oh, I see a question coming in from John. Has Farley considered making the XML tab an XML editor to edit the Fire assets in XML? That's a good question. Did we ever consider directly allowing you to edit XML there?
I don't think we haven't, but what you can do is open the file in an external share my screen. Again. So what you can do is right-click on a profile, open in external applications, and you can make an adjustment here. So if you just save this under a new name, save, then you can see here that Forge will pick up that the file has changed. So if you want to edit or make adjustments in an editor, then you can do so even within the context of Forge.
Yeah. Nice. I think it's probably indeed easier because, well, text editors have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of features in there that we would need to rebuild. That's an interesting suggestion. Yeah, so just to recap, speed improvements when loading. Yeah, so you saw that it was way quicker to open the project. I know speed is another issue that people have mentioned. But speed can of course occur in many places. So if you have a specific place where you think, oh, Forge could be faster here, let us know, and then we'll dive into that. Preferably indeed with your project and your examples. Yeah, the new project wizard to open a local version of your project. Jason finally became a first-class citizen here. More recent documents, one-click package upgrades, and there's the full release notes also in the chat. Then I would like to take it to turn it over to Simone. So Simone is the CEO at Gefira and has been working with FireD for a long time. She's doing all the trainings in Germany. She's working with all the big players in Germany to help them convert to Fire. She's chair of the technical committee, I think, still, and part of the Interop Council. I guess we'll see it later in this presentation too when I go to the jurisdiction pages. But she's all around Fire in Germany. So thank you for being with us, Simone, and please take it away.
Thank you for having me. All right, let me share my screen and show you our best practice guide. As chair of the technical committee for Fire at HR7 Germany, we've noticed that there's a lot going on in Germany. There are a lot of different people and organizations are creating implementation guides. Most of them are using Simplifier. It's a very popular tool across Germany. But we also noticed that the implementation guides that are being produced are very different from each other. There's no common structure, and that is making it quite hard for implementers to navigate these documents. Also, many of these specifications are being balloted through HR7 Germany, and we also noticed that we have to submit the same comments over and over again because people keep repeating, I wouldn't say mistakes, but basically doing things that we noticed over time might be difficult when you want to move forward with your specifications. That make it hard to reuse your profiles, that make it hard to maintain backwards compatibility. And there are many lessons that we have learned over time with the maintenance of the HR7 German base profiles, for example, but also in other projects. Things that seemed to be a good idea at first showed up to be not as good as we thought they were a couple years down the road. But these are all experiences that aren't really written down anywhere. We call it the kind of druid knowledge of specifiers, because it's only existing in the heads of those people who have this kind of experience of maintaining Fire specifications for many, many years. And so we decided to sit down and write a best practice guide where we would write down all of the experiences that we've made, all the recommendations that we want to give to people who are only just at the beginning of creating their own implementation guides. And we also wanted to add a best practice guide on what a good implementation guide, in our opinion, should look like and how it should be structured to have this common template that makes it easier for implementers to navigate these different specifications. So the project that we published consists of 3 different implementation guides. One is our best practice guide, which is basically just a write-up of our experiences that we made and that we would like to share with other people. Then we have a Simplifier template where we give recommendations on what an implementation guide ideally should look like, what kind of information should contain, and it also has FQL templates that makes it easier for people who are not as knowledgeable with all the features of Simplifier. They can still create pretty implementation guides without having to figure out how FQL queries are working. And finally, we have kind of a meta template, which basically just contains information on how to deploy the template, and where we also keep our change log whenever we change anything about the template, or if we notice anything wrong or want to give any recommendations about how to use it. That's basically what we use the third guide for. In this project, there's pretty much not a single Fire resource in there. We do have value sets, profiles, and extensions and stuff like that, but they are only examples that we need to show how to use the template. They are not really part of the specification. The best practices, as I said, is basically just a write-up of recommendations and experiences that we made. like general recommendations, like for example, which Fire version should you use? Should you use Fire R5 or should you still use Fire R4? What's best? What do you need to consider whenever you create an implementation guide in Germany for the German market? We also have some very few guides for implementers. That's not a lot there. We would like to expand on that, but we still don't, at this point, there isn't really a lot of recommendations that we have. We are more focusing on recommendations for specifiers and for writing specifications. For example, we have a step-by-step guide on what you should do when you want to create a fire specification. How do you start? Which people should be involved? When do you publish? Why and when should you ballot the specification, etc. So this is a step-by-step guide on what you should do at what point in time during the project. And then we have a couple of recommendations when you create profiles, like what do you need to consider when you constrain cardinalities? What are maybe unexpected consequences of things you do when you create a profiles that you might not be aware of at the point in time when you do it? We talk a little bit about using must support flags and how to deal with modifying elements. And there's a bunch of recommendations that we just collected over time because we noticed that these are things that are often done wrong or where people are not aware of the consequences of what they are doing. Then we also have recommendations around naming, choosing a canonicals, choosing your version numbers and how to deal with that kind of stuff. We also have recommendations on how to create good examples and also how to create an implementation guide. And that's where we have our template. That's a different implementation guide that you can just copy and deploy to your own simplifier project, and it will give you template pages that you can use and fill out with the information pertaining to your project. In this template, we have these boxes that kind of are notifying people that this page is just a template, that you need to add your own information to that page. For example, you should add your own logo. You should add a link to your simplifier project, a link to your GitHub repository or whatever you are using for version control. You should state the duration of the project, like when did you start and when do you expect to be finished, to give your readers an idea on what stage this project is in, or whether it's abandoned, or whether it's finished, or whether it's only just started. You should maybe give people an idea of whether you are planning on balloting, and if so, when does the ballot start? When does it end? Has it already been balloted? This is important information for people who want to use your implementation guide. And then you should add a reference on where people can give feedback, where people can add comments or change requests, who's responsible for this implementation guide and stuff like that. When you populated this page, it should look something like our own starting page, because we used our own template too. Let me just go back to my project. Hold on, there we are. And you can see that we are actually using our very own template for the starting page in Simplifier, where we added exactly the information that you could see on the template. What we also have in our template is a page for release notes to remind everyone that once you release a package, you should add some information about what changes you made compared to the previous package, and label stuff as whether it has been a fix or something has changed or something has been added. Then we also have a chapter with information about the project, like what is it for, what's the scope of this project, what's in scope, what's out of scope, what use cases are you covering? Maybe you want to give a diagram of the actors and interactions that are involved in your project, and we recommend that you could use UML diagrams if you like, which is a built-in feature into Simplifier. So we have a little example on how your actors and interactions could look like. But you could also give an external link to maybe a web page somewhere else where this has been described. You should give some definitions, like what do you mean if you use the words shall, should, must, or must not, for example. And also, that's a very important thing. You should define what you mean, what your expectations are when you use must support flags. That's something that is often overlooked when creating specifications, that people use must support flags when creating profiles. But the FHIR specification actually says that your implementation guide should specify what exactly your expectations are for implementers when you label an element as must support. And this is a place where you can put down this kind of information and write up for implementers what exactly they should do to support the must support elements. Then if you like, or if it's relevant to your project, you could add an information model. Again, you could use plant UML as it is built into Simplifier to create like an information model, but you could also add a link to maybe an art decor page or whatever tool you're using to model your information. And finally, we have the artifacts chapter. You may notice that we've kind of stuck to the structure that you find when you use the IG build tool, which is an alternative tool to Simplifier. And it automatically creates this kind of structure. And we try to align our implementation guide template with that structure so that it doesn't really make a difference to the implementers whether an implementation guide has been created with the IG publisher or with Simplifier. They should eventually look kind of the same with the structure and chapters that there are. So in this artifacts tab, we have automatically created pages for resources. And our aim is that when you deploy this template, you should only have to change the canonical of your profile, and all the rest of the page should be rendered automatically from your profile. All of these renderings are SQL queries, and they should automatically create the tree view, the descriptions, XML, JSON representation of your profile. It should automatically create a table with any invariants that are present in your profile. It should automatically read all the REST interactions pertaining to this profile taken from the capability statement. And if you have any mappings, there's also a table that is automatically created if you need that for your profile. So basically, you only have to delete anything that is not important to your profile. Everything else will be created automatically. And we've done that for pretty much every type of resource, for operations, for examples, for extensions, for terminologies, like we automatically create a page for each value set. And basically, you only have to copy and paste these templates and adapt them to your specific profile. Yeah, let me just go back to the Simplifier project, which is not linked in this guide.
Yeah, I think that's one of the feedback that people have given in the chat just now. These two links. Nice.
Yeah. Hold on, I can put this in the chat.
Yeah, I did. It's already there. Thanks, Simone.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, the link didn't work because it was a template, and no, it's not deployed yet to a specific project, so the link doesn't really go anywhere. But in our best practice guide, we have a backlink to Simplifier. So here we are back on our main page, and I can show you what the template actually looks like if you are using it in the editor. So basically the idea is that you would fill all these descriptive pages with basically text where you talk about your project, and on the artifacts, all you have to do is to change the canonical to the canonical of your specific profile that you want to describe right there, add the URL to your capability statement, and all the rest of the page should be created automatically. And then you simply have to basically copy and paste this template depending on how many different profiles you have in your project. Everything else will be taken from the structure definitions. If you stick to the best practices in our guide, you should also have any descriptions about what your profile is actually doing and how to use the elements in that profile. You should already have that in your structure definition so that it will automatically be taken into your implementation guide. So you shouldn't really have to write anything in these artifact pages. You should only have to add your canonical URL. The whole project is fairly new, so we don't really have a lot of experience at this point in using the template. There's a couple of projects where we started to build on top of that, but we're also happy to accept feedback. If anyone has an idea of things that we are missing or that you would like to find in this kind of project, feel free to drop us a comment. Obviously, everything is in German, but I hope that the translation tools will be helpful if you like to read that stuff in English as well. Also, we have our links to our GitHub project, so whenever you would like to submit a comment or report a bug, you will find the links on the starting page of this project. If you like to have information like that, but in English, you will find the guidance for FireEye creation, which is an international project, which is also still in the early stages, but we've actually taken a lot of inspiration from this project. We also basically translated parts of these recommendations into our German best practice guide, but we also expanded on a lot of the recommendations that are given here. But this is another link that I would recommend if you are looking for best practice guidance. That's also a very good source, especially for people looking for English information. All right, that's it. Are there any questions?
That's awesome, Simone. Yeah, indeed. People are asking for your link, of course, and you've given that already. You also preempted some other questions, like, is there an English translation of this? We want this. So that's awesome. I think it's really kind of you to codify all this knowledge that you've built up over the years for free in this tool. And I think, yeah, anyone should be able to make a copy of your project even and just start the guide. I think you even have instructions, right? How to copy that guide and start it on your own.
Exactly. That's basically this. This is the how-to guide on how to use the template, where we have written basically how to use it, like how do you download the project and upload it to your own, and then create your implementation guide from that. There's a couple of steps that you need to take, but it's fairly easy and straightforward.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and we'll continue to work with you over time to maybe make sure that we can make this kind of a preset or something at some point. But
yeah, awesome.
That's wonderful. I saw that Kazim had a question. Kazim, you had your hand raised. Still.
Yeah, I just want to ask a question regarding the FQL. So if you have a scenario where you have maybe a program IG having your maybe country core guide as a dependency, and you want to be able to return values from the core one, not necessarily the package for that program one. We have had challenges like it's not able to see the table from the core one. So I wanted to ask if this has been considered in this FQL that you have.
Yeah, actually, that's a feature request that we also submitted to Firelead, that we would like to be able to also render profiles from other projects that we have dependencies to, but they might also be important for your implementation guide, so that you should be able to also render those. And also that we would like to have the ability to also render access stuff with FQL that is not in your current profile, but in an underlying profile. For example, if you have a derived profile and there are invariants in the underlying profile that you build on top on that, they will not show in the FQL tables at this point. They will, because the tables are only generated from the differential. So anything that you haven't personally added to your profile will not show up. But still, for an implementer, it would be helpful to have a list of all the invariants, regardless of what level they are from. And that was actually something that we would hope to see in the future, that we have the ability to also access basically the snapshot, like all the value set bindings, for example, all the invariants from all the underlying profiles.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, great points. And actually, the underlying language FQL does support this already. And if you run FQL, for example, locally with Firelead Terminal, you can use this scope parameter where you can basically say, you know, just look in my project or look in all my dependencies in a project. But this is something we haven't unleashed on full simplifier yet, because the whole hairball of information can get a bit big. And there's also this thing called fetch, where you can basically follow a canonical URL within your profile to another resource and get stuff from that resource. But indeed, I think, Paul, I see you're nodding. We are thinking about unleashing this on Simplifier, right?
Yes, we are thinking about it.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, that will take some more heavy thinking, and then, but that's great. It's a great idea. Let's see if there were some other questions. Yeah, people had some. Matthijs, have you been keeping up with the chat?
Yeah, I think we covered the questions.
Yeah, I think Mika has a good question. Like, has Firelead considered basically doing this a bit more broadly? And I think so. Yeah, we're thinking about, for example, when you start a new guide, you can say, okay, base it on this other guide, or get the pages from this other guide. Start with this set of default pages.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can definitely do more there. Also, at some point, help you, since you now on the top can say this page is about this canonical, at some point we can tell you, hey, you have documented these 3 resources, but you forgot to document these 5 other resources. What do you want to make a page for them or something? There's still strides we can make. Yeah. Okay, I'll take back the screen share here. Thanks so much for your contribution, Simone.
Thank you.
And let's see what's next on the agenda. So 40 minutes left. Well, 10 if we stick to the webinar invite. So let's speed up. This is something I'm really excited about, because it's a whole new kind of avenue for Fire. Fire always used to be free and open, and the things that Simone is showing you, for example, it's many national standards organizations who are building things with taxpayer money, so out in the open for the world. That makes a lot of sense, but some people also have spent a lot of private time and work to codify measures or questionnaires or terminologies or guidelines in Fire or previously in PDFs and paper. And that's something you don't just want to throw away for free on the street, because that might be your business model. Or sometimes you may have some private Fire data on Simplifier that you don't just want to willy-nilly share with everyone, but people need to go to some kind of access flow, like maybe signing some documents or something before they can should be able to access that, because you want to enforce that they're not misusing it, for example. this is what we have built a first iteration of a marketplace for Fire for. We're just going to demo that here. I'm going to start here for my machine as a consumer. So here I'm on Simplifier, and I'm going to find the Acme organization. Actually, I know where to find them here. So it's a US-based organization. I'll come back to this page later. Just a sneak peek. But here's the Acme organization, my demo organization, and here we've turned on the marketplace. So I might be aware that Acme has some interesting digital measures that I want to get for my company, want to get access to. So I go to their marketplace. I see that they have a product in here, which is the Acme digital measures. And I can see a little description here. I can dive into the product and see what's really behind it. So in this case, it's one Fire package. So just the Fire packages that you're used to, and one private implementation guide. And if I click on either of them, you'll see, well, something prettier than just the 404 page. You'll see, hey, you cannot access this, but if only you would buy this from the marketplace, you would be able to access it. So you can go back to the product here. And once I think, wow, this product is really interesting, I want to get access to this, you can add it to your shopping cart, whether or not there's a real payment involved. I can view my shopping cart just like any Amazon or web store, and I can purchase this in air quotes because we don't have a payment system coupled to this right now. But so here, this is my checkout screen. I can say, okay, this is for what's personal organization, and I'd like to order this, please. So now it's out of my hands. And this is where I'm going to stop sharing, and we're turning it over to Paul, who is the owner of the Acme organization, and we'll show you a bit more on how to manage products as a producer and how to approve these kind of access requests.
Yes, thank you. I'm here on the Acme organization page. I'm logged in as an admin of the Acme organization. Here we have the marketplace enabled for everyone, for anyone who would have the license to use the marketplace. This would not be enabled by default. So you would have to go under Manage Properties, and then here you would find a little checkbox that you have to enable in order for the marketplace to be visible for everyone to find. I already have it enabled, so I'm going to show how you can set up products and also how you can accept requests for access. Under Manage, we have two buttons there. We have the products and the product licenses. Let's focus on the products first. So we can click here, and here we can see the management page of all the products under the Acme organization. We have already set up one product, but I'm going to go through the flow, show you how you can create a new one. I'm going to click Create. Here you have to give it a nice title and some description. Package, and there, here on the bottom, you can select what you want to include in this product. Now, here you will see all the private Fire content that you have under this organization, and we have a few guides there and only one package for now. So I'm just going to select one package, and then once we click Create, we have created a product. Now, by default, this product is being created under the draft status, which means it's not yet available for others to order, but you can still, and you can also still make changes to it, or you can delete it. If you want to have this on the marketplace so that people can request access to it, you would have to put it under an active status. Now we already have an active one, so I'm just going to remove this one that I just created. Once you have an active product, you can also take it off from the marketplace by setting it on retired, which means, well, it's no longer available to be requested, but maybe you already sold it to somebody. So it's still there. You can still access that product if you go directly to that link. The other side, from the producer perspective, is product licenses. So this is the page where you would see all the orders that have been made for all your products. And in this case, we see my colleague's request, which he just made, and we see the date in which it was made. And by default, it's an eternal license, which means once we give access, he's going to have access forever. That's something that we thought about changing in the future. So maybe in the future, you can also sell products only for a limited amount of time, like on a subscription based or something like that. Now, usually this would be the point where we will contact that customer and we would ask him to go through the process in order for us to accept the request. So that can be payment, or he just has to sign some documents. But for the purpose of this demo, let's just pretend we have done that, and then we can just confirm the request. Yeah, that's it. I confirmed, I think.
Wonderful. Let's see if I actually got access to that. So let's see. So when I'm here back in my consumer account, I have this new option here. Where's my shopping cart, where I can view everything that's currently in there, or all my purchased products. And now, yeah, we see that we now have access to this product that we had before. And already under items lists the product from the items from all my different products, so all packages and guides that I have access to. I can eventually also manage here my team, so the other people within my company also need to get access to this. And when I dive into these guides now, into this product now, you can see that instead of the error page I got before, I actually get access to the package, just like any other package or any other guide. Good. So that's a quick round trip of our implementation guide of our marketplace. If you think this is something for you, whether you're like selling digital content or whether you have something that you need to gate behind, so you want to show to other people that it exists, but you don't want to give away access freely, get in contact, and we're kind of doing kind of early adopter project where we get feedback from people. Another quick view. Jurisdiction pages. I browsed through them very quickly, but for every country where we have some information now, we have a nice little page, hopefully introducing to you what is important for this country in the FHIR world. So let's, for example, go back to the Simplifier homepage and here on the map find our German friends. We will see that we have a nice overview here with all the organizations that are publishing within Germany. So HL7 Germany that Simone just showed, Gematik, KBV, some others, MII. You will see that we have a summary here from the results that the last time they have filled in for the State of FHIR survey at Dev Days. And again, you'll see Simone back here. And then once more, we have Simone here, but we have some videos that are in this case relevant for the German market, curated them from Dev Days and other places around. So we hope that this is a nice introduction for anyone who wants to know how FHIR is doing in, let's say, Germany, but we have this for many other countries. So our Canadian friends here, we have some introduction to that. Yeah, many of them. And there's even more coming because we just filled in we just set out the new Dev Days State of FHIR survey for 2024. So I still need to update these pages with the latest information, but we have even more countries who have submitted some nice information. So we'll keep updating this, and hopefully that's a nice introduction to what's going on in the country. Right now, we just show the organizations that are publishing there. Eventually, we also want to extend this with these are the most popular packages from this jurisdiction, and these are the most popular guides and projects. So you really have an updated snapshot of what's going on within any jurisdiction. Good. I'm just running through it a bit more quickly. Rob, I'm going to take it over, give it over to you here. So Rob is quickly going to show you a new experiment that we're working on. It's not yet released, but this is basically an effort that we're doing to hopefully make it quicker to add new renderings for other resource types to Simplifier. So yeah, what you're seeing here is Liquid, and Liquid is a templating language. That's quite commonly used. And we're first going to see whether we're going to make it easier for our Simplifier support team, so myself and Matthijs, to add more renderings here. So in this case, a capability statement, but we have other nice resources that we don't have a dedicated rendering for right now, like questionnaire or something on our wish list to more easily add renderings for those. And yeah, eventually I'm definitely also interested to see if whether this is something that you even want to take in your own hands, so make your own custom rendering for your project or organization. So that's something we can explore later. Go ahead, Rob.
Okay, so Liquid is a template-based tool which allows you to create HTML, dynamic HTML, well, for the purpose of Simplifier at least, where the input is a resource of a certain type, so you can match a in this example, a capability statement, create a template for it. So this allows you to style how that capability statement resource is rendered. So you can mix and match HTML with some coding statements. For example, you have loop statements or if statements. So REST is actually a property from a capability statement structure definition. So you can associate properties from your resource and tell them how you want it rendered. So this is Visual Studio Code, which gives some feedback on coding syntax here, which allows you for ease of editing. What we'll do in the first step is to have some example Liquid templates in Simplifier. So for example, the capability statement that you have them in a central location in Simplifier. And our first proof of concept is that you can actually say in your implementation guide that you want to use the template to render a certain capability statement. So this is the output of that template. And you can also, of course, go to the preview page. So we like to have some more templates in there, and maybe you have some ideas about using that as well in the future.
Yeah, awesome. So indeed, what we would like from you is your preferences on which resources should be on top of the list, and also, is this something that you want to build yourself? I think there's something to say for it. There's also something to say for consistency. So yeah, happy to hear your thoughts. But first, let's continue the presentation one more minute. So I think, yeah, just a quick recap of stuff that we have announced in a previous webinar, but that are now live to see. So we are tracking popularity. We used to track it already for packages, but now also for projects, guides, organizations, and all resources. It's something that we are already now using within our search. So if you search something, more popular stuff will be ranked higher than less popular stuff. We can also use this to help you see which of your resources are really well used, or at least viewed and downloaded. Yeah, if you want to see a dashboard for your data, let me know. I've built a few for some customers. There was a whole bunch of rendering improvements that Rob showed last time that are out now. There's a link here in the news of the Firely organization on Simplifier that has detailed them all, including a date placeholder in implementation guide. And then if you've been in contact with us via the support desk, you know that we've also included a ton of bug fixes in both Forge and the Simplifier release. So thank you for that feedback. Something coming soon, a little small thing that's already working on our staging is having spaces in your column headers for FQL. So I was using underscores there right now, but this is a bit nicer. So this is going to be the format, and it's going to be there next release. Other things that are coming up, yeah, as we said, liquid rendering is probably coming soon. Spaces in your FQL headers, and then we took the first step of this with the marketplace that we've released, but we're going to work on more support for private resources. Building a guide around a private package, building a private package on top of a private package, and also getting your private packages via a package API, just like you can get the public ones via the public packages.fire.org or simplify.net, and downloading guides. So that's what next. And so we have a whole 3 minutes left in the slot that we had. So if anyone wants to ask a question still, please raise your hand or put them in the chat. And for everyone who is dropping off, I thank you very much for being a customer and being here and joining us. And please keep sending us your feedback. And if you want to meet, just reach out. We can discuss your use cases. I see, Simone, you had a good point here. I would love to be able to use liquid templating and add recommendations to profiles on how to create appropriate narrative for instances for specific profile. Can you elaborate on that? So you also want to use it for the narrative? Is that or?
Yeah, I think narrative generation is a huge gap. I don't know about everyone else, but in Germany we barely use narratives ever.
Yeah.
Because it's cumbersome for implementers to create their own templates. And I also don't really see why every implementer should have to bother with that. Why not give them a template and say, this is how we expect the narrative to be generated?
Yeah.
Especially since we are using a lot of structured documents in Germany. And I think especially for this kind of approach, like having huge, elaborate, structured documents, I think the most important part about these documents is that they should be human readable, but they are not. And I would love to be able to have like a standardized template that people could easily integrate into their whatever tooling and say, okay, I have created this structured document. Now I create a human readable representation that is similar regardless of what system created the document, but the consumer of the document will always see a common representation of the e-prescription or the sick note or the I don't know, whatever documents we have out there.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think so. I think the first thing we can do is make sure that we use these liquid templates, not just for rendering, but also for probably generating narratives when people are editing. But we're also thinking about indeed putting these liquid templates in an open source repository that people can access, send pull requests, but also maybe use for other tools if they want to.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. But I think you're going further than just a rendering per resource type, but also if I make a specific kind of profile on bundle, then it should be a different kind of rendering or not.
Yeah, I think for documents it's even a different beast, because you would create sections, narrative per section, not per individual resource. Like if you have a list of conditions, you would basically mostly generate a table and not individual narratives for each and every condition that you have. So
yeah. Well, that's a good one to tackle. I'm not sure if we touch bundles yet, but that's a good one to tackle when we get there. I see there's another question here from Joni. Any integration of Fire shorthand? Nothing new to announce right now, Joni. We have, of course, as you know, the Fire shorthand playground that you can use on the homepage of Simplifier. We have an experimental editor that we can use directly in your project. You can upload your fish files to your project already. And even when you generate a package, we can run Sushi for you. But we want to take that further, and that's probably on the agenda for later in the year. But for now, of course, it works perfectly fine with Fire shorthand. You can just do the transformation to JSON within your GitHub project or locally, and then just send that to Simplifier, either with or without the fish files, and then build your implementation guide around it. I think we should probably wrap it up here. Thank you very much for being here. The recordings will be shared. These are the links where they will be, but you get an email if you haven't blocked us, at least. And we'll be back in 4 months. You can contact us via any of these contacts. Simone, anywhere people can reach you?
Yeah, either on the Zulip chat or on my email. I don't know, but you will find me. Just Google me. You will find my contact.
She's around. Awesome. Thank you very much. Good. Thanks, everyone. Good day.
Bye.